Hey everybody, it's Fourth Down Fiasco today. I'm going to be your host, Tanner Vinsky. This is my co-host, Daniel Paul Weber. We're going to keep it nice and chill today because we are going to be going over, once again, a merger or a dream scenario. And, we're going to keep it very calm, cool, and collected. We're not going to have any crash outs or bad takes or need for the use of the word allegedly. So we don't make anybody upset, right? So we're gonna keep it nice and chill today, nothing crazy, and I'm not gonna have anybody from either league going to my personal account and DMing me about the things we say today. So we're gonna keep it nice and professional. But our rundown for today is we made an Instagram post. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. You can use it as a guide following through. It's titled FDF's Dream League Scenario. So it's just what we would want between the two leagues. It's a merger, how we would want it to be done, what we prefer from each league, complementary, what we prefer from each league, not negatively, complementary. Now, that might mean we think one league's doing a thing better than the other, but that's just the way things go. When there's competition, sometimes somebody wins, right? We're covering a sport. That's the way things go. So we're gonna be mature and level-headed about it.
There's winners and losers in sports.
Exactly. And what is sports without controversy? It's just cardio. So. Before we get into that, we are going to do our regularly scheduled program. We're going to go briefly over the EFA Week 8. Nothing too crazy. And then we're going to do our awards, as always, and a quick little pick'ems just to get through it. It's only going to take us probably 15 minutes today, so apologies if you wanted a really big breakdown. We thought it would be better for both leagues to see an actual in-depth analysis of what we're trying to say in the post. So that could hopefully, optimistically, in our heads, could lead to some better discussions on how a merger can get done, right?
Yeah, and all of our group chats say there's not a shot a merger gets done, which is fine, optimistically, right?
Well, we're in the spirit of cooperation and positivity and not raising my voice today and being calm.
Calm.
That might be a good talking point and a good starting point for these leagues to, play nice.
Yeah. You really threw me off with that intro. I was not expecting that. You did not give me any insight of that intro. Hey, everybody.
I'm trying to keep it zen. I'm trying to keep it level-headed.
Keep it chill.
I'm trying to keep it chill because I don't want to get DM'd on my personal Instagram account about things I said on the podcast today. I'm trying to be a good boy. You say whenever you're gone and it's just Jordan and I, you get a bunch of DMs about what we said. Yeah. I'm trying to make sure all the DMs are like, wow, Danny and Tanner brought really good points and this was really positive. And this is a great discussion point, not,
Make it look like a LinkedIn post when you get a new job. Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
How happy for you.
Yeah. No,
way to go.
All positive vibes today.
Yeah.
And that's why this week we also have a fiasco winner, really.
all vibes.
All positive
no
vibes.
Negativity.
No negativity on this episode because it's going to be a great one to reference.
Yeah.
Just as a hint to the higher ups of both the leagues if they somehow watch this, which I know at least one of them's watching it.
I think a couple.
Yeah. I know at least somebody from some of the higher ups is watching because, like I said, I will sometimes get personal messages about the things I say. So let's just start with the games that we watched. And in the spirit of positivity, they were one-score games.
It's true. They were one-score games.
They were one-score games.
But they were one-score games. Let's start with the first game of the week. The Munich Ravens taking on the Tyrol Raiders on a 6-game losing streak.
And unfortunately, they are still winless.
Yes.
But in the spirit of positivity, they put up 14 points in the fourth quarter. They made it look close. At least if you only look at the score sheet.
Yes. So I'm not 26-3 at halftime. Not a very good game in the first half. The Raiders looked somewhat competent. They just couldn't finish drives. They were getting downfield. They were making some stops on defense, but the Raiders' O-line looked non-existent sometimes in the game. There was one play I saw, I think it was like 3rd and 12 or something like that, and the Ravens sent I think it was a cover 0, and it looked like a field goal block because there were 4 defenders in the backfield as soon as Krajewski had the ball, and their center was on his back. So, oof.
Yeah.
But yeah, also when you can sub in your backup quarterback in a 1-score game, that means it wasn't really a 1-score game.
Not
and for
particularly.
your backup quarterback to score twice. I think he scored twice, at least once.
Yeah, he had a rushing touchdown, I believe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's not a lot you can take away from this game. We kind of know what Munich are. We kind of know what Tyrol are. Munich did put up a really good performance in the first half. We're kind of able to put their foot on the gas and cruise control their way to a win. And Tyrol, Krajewski, he had it's tough for him. Like I said, if we weren't split directly in half and Tyrol was the middling team, I think we could actually see Krajewski put up better numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a tough situation. But they implemented some import rules that might help them if they can sign some other guys. So
yeah, I've seen Prague take advantage of some of the import rules already, but I haven't seen any posts from the Raiders, which scares me. Maybe I've just missed them. Hopefully I haven't.
yeah.
So you get the I import, you get the W import. So hopefully that makes a little bit different. Maybe it's a little too late in the season for Tyrol to make a difference. But
I think a lot that would help Tyrol is honestly just a little bit more pressure on their defense, like whether that's pressure on their D-line or whether they could sign just another competent corner. Because Jan Meyerhofer, he's just got too much on his plate for his skill set because he does make plays. Like, he had a forced fumble. He always is a tackling machine. He's always getting tackles each game. But you can just tell he's gassed by the end of these games, and he's just getting torched. So it's just a lot of pressure to put on a homegrown corner,
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to put on his plate. And I think if they could get him a little bit extra help on the defense, his role wouldn't – he'd be a great slot corner. If you could just have him in slot packages, or if you just could play slot and you could bring him in certain packages, and he wasn't having to do so much, I think it would be a much better fit for him. Yeah, no, the Tyrol just needs help on both sides of the field, or both sides of the ball, which sucks because
And I stand corrected. They did sign a D lineman from Canada.
Nice.
Ebenezer Dibula.
Using that I import.
Using the I import. But yeah, I mean, they have they're 2 DBs. I feel like Tyrol does this almost every year. Outside of Divine Buckram, who was solid, and now he's on some other teams. He's bounced around, but it's I feel like they just kind of whiff on their A imports on the back end.
They really do. They really do.
And
that's what I'm saying. It's it feels like Jan is mostly the one in control of the big moments, and you see him getting burnt in coverage a lot, and you see him making a lot of tackles, and he's a homegrown corner. You don't see that on the other teams.
No.
So I don't know. Maybe it's a GM problem. Maybe it's just a roster construction problem.
But they brought in new people this year too. That's the weird thing. It's Sean Fatah or whatever his last name is. They said he was at Tyrol before. He was a good coach, and now they're just not there. And I mean, we've said it before. It's beating a dead horse at this point. But it's just sad the league was cut in half. They were in the middle. They were always a fringe playoff team in the ELF, and now they're just sucky.
Okay. Shout out Robin Steiner, though, going over 100 yards. Good performance by him. It's always cool to see for Tyrol. There's positives on the roster. We've talked about Tyrol a lot. We like their rushing game. They just need a better line.
Yeah.
They just need to hit better on their A's, really, I think is the big thing. And not necessarily Krajewski. I think Krajewski can be solid, and I think if he had more help, he would be better. But other spots in their A's to just get more use out of them.
if Aaron Jackson didn't get hurt, him and Krajewski could be solid.
I know. It's such a shame.
But yeah, I think with the W import though, they still have 2 W imports to use. Use one on the DB and one on the O line. Go get some German guys or something.
Anything.
Yeah, and literally anyone. But yeah, that's about it. Roster construction we could talk about all day. Munich, keep it up. I don't know that they are just good. Good job.
Yeah, it's so hard to take away. Munich each week is just like, yeah, good job, Munich. You guys did great. I mean,
what you were supposed to do.
They're undefeated, so of course that's our takeaway every week. You know,
they still haven't lost, but the team that seems to be losing it, the one falling down the standings, with a horrible point differential. Looking at it now, Frankfurt Galaxy at the Paris Musketeers, and Paris seems to be falling off the tracks or something, man.
It's the exact opposite of Frankfurt, actually, because Frankfurt wins this game. Frankfurt started off like 0-2, 1-3, something like that. I can't remember looking at their schedule.
Lost to Germany, lost to Paris, lost to Frankfurt, beat the Raiders.
So it's 1-2,
1-4.
Yeah, 1-4. So now you mean 1-3? Because now they're up to 3-3 now. So because this is their third.
So they lost to Paris, lost to Munich, beat the Raiders. Oh, no, yeah, 1-3. My bad. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, 1-3. So they were 1-3, and they get to 3-3 after this win. It's just a completely different trajectory of Paris, which Paris was 2-1, I think, and then falls down to 3-3. Now, guarantee, I think a lot of that has to do with the schedule and how they were scheduled out. Or was Paris
3-1?
They're 3-1. 3-1.
Yeah.
Tough. So, yeah. I don't know. It's another game where it's concerning for Paris. The defense didn't do their job today, which is a shame because we've been so positive about the Paris defense this whole season. Like, we've been talking how well they are. But, and also, I mean, like, it was just one of those games where, it's going into the fourth quarter, it's 31-13. Like, Frankfurt doesn't have to do anything in the fourth quarter. Paris fights their way back, which is great for them. They get somewhere, to try to make it a one-score game with 3:44 left. But at that point, the game's over.
Yeah.
Yes, they could have gotten a stop and the momentum could have been there, but you could tell in that fourth quarter, Frankfurt wasn't really trying to do anything. They were just
trying to end the game,
get out of there with no injuries. And to credit to them, they did their job. Garbers had the same week I feel like he's always had, but there was a couple more passes downfield, which is great. Couple longer completions, which is what we've been hoping for out of him. And he spread the ball around a lot, which is great.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of the game that we were looking out of Garbers. Like you said, it was kind of the same game we've seen out of him. I think he actually has quite improved this game over the last X amount of games that we've been wanting to see. Because
he definitely did, but when I mean it's more the same. Like it didn't feel like the breakout game. You know what I mean? Like he had a solid game. He didn't throw any picks. He had 4 touchdowns. Stat sheet wise, it was a great game. He made a couple of passes down the field. All of it's good. It's just we had such high expectations for Garbers. It's hard looking at this game and being like, there it is. There's the Garbers breakout. It seemed more of just like they played well within their means. It wasn't because Garbers turned into a world beater, It was the team just played well. Like they just played well. Everything was oiled. Everything was a well-run machine.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I still think it's going to happen. I still think we're going to have a week where Garbers is going to put up a monster stat line. We're going to be like, there it is. That's what we were waiting for. And even though this week looks closer, it's still under 300 yards. He didn't have like a 80% completion percentage or anything crazy like that, but he did do a good job spreading the ball around. The receivers all stepped up. Like he was able to throw to, I think it's 7 different receivers. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 6 different receivers. He's able to throw to 6 different receivers. They all had pretty decent games. 4 touchdowns to 4 different guys. Like, the receiving room did its job. The running game wasn't all there this game. It was actually pretty bad efficiency on their runs. It looks like they only had 84 yards total on the ground between 3 different rushers. So that's not ideal, but they didn't really need it. And a lot of that's also them trying to run the clock out in the fourth quarter. So, like, is that easy? That's pretty easy for Paris to game plan around,
Yeah.
Hey, put guys in the middle of the field. These guys aren't going to throw the ball, which they weren't throwing the ball.
Yeah.
But
and like, it seemed like Paris had good control of the game in the first half, but even then they were still losing at halftime. And late in the third quarter, they had a 3rd and 20 plus play.
Yeah.
And Frankfurt converted it. And it's like, all you have to do is stop them. And you have a shot at pulling within like 3.
I don't know.
And then, Frankfurt ended up scoring on that drive after converting a 4th down on that drive as well, and another 3rd down. It's like, you just have to make a stop somewhere. You had 3 chances to get the ball back, and your defense couldn't do it.
Only one of Frankfurt's touchdowns came in like the red zone too. The other 3 were all like 17 yards plus out.
Yeah.
So that's also a tough spot to be in with Paris too, where it's like you're just giving up those like big chunk plays, and like because Paris can excel if they can actually get a defense into the red zone when they play a shortened field.
Yeah.
They do really well there, but there's just moments where their defense just gets burnt, and when that just happens throughout the course of a game, it's hard for the offense to keep up because Paris played from behind the whole game, and the O-line didn't do Zach any favors, and that didn't help. So, which is a shame because we've also praised the Paris O-line a lot. It's just they're going on a dip, so they really need to bounce back next week.
They need to right the ship and quick because they don't have a lot of time left. And if Prague's imports work, they could. We'll talk about that in a minute, but they could.
Yeah, Prague's already got a win. Paris only got 3, and they got a head-to-head coming up. So if Prague gets that, Prague's in the playoff race.
No, yeah. 1 game back with 3 weeks to go. Anything could happen.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go quickly through our awards so that way we can talk about the pick'ems because that's going to be a little bit more in depth because we do have at least one interesting game to go over, and then we'll get into our post. But for Big Dog, we did decide it was going to go to Garbers. I know we weren't saying as much praise about him, but he did actually have the best week of his season. It's 27 completions on 35 attempts. For 273 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Good Lord. And then he had 10 rushing attempts for 33 yards. We spoke about it. The 4 touchdowns to 4 different receivers, 77% efficient passing rating, really solid. Multiple 25-yard plus passing touchdowns. Like I said, 3 of the 4 touchdowns for 17 yards plus. So was able to spread the ball downfield a little bit more. Really great. I'm hesitant to call it the breakout game, but I'm sure a lot of other people are going to.
I'm probably one of them. I think it was his turning point. I think it's only up from here.
Definitely. I agree. Still good enough to win Big Dog. Still a really solid week. So shout out Ethan Garbers.
Whoop whoop. Former Madrid Bravo quarterback.
Briefly. RIP. For Unsung, we decided to split it. We decided to give it to 2 guys because there was 2 guys on the Munich defense that had the exact same stat line. Pretty much.
Basically.
Like almost. And they were both D linemen. So shout out, I believe that's Johann Zerngiebel? Zerngiebel? Something like that?
Would not be Gible, but
Gible. I don't know. Gible would sound better, but
that is true.
Yeah. I'm assuming I got the first name right. I assume it's Johannes Zerngiebel. Gibble just doesn't sound right, but I could be wrong. You never know.
Screw it.
So, shout out Johannes, and then shout out Sadiq Bush. Both of them had 4 tackles. Both of them had a sack and a half. Zerngiebel outperformed Bush with a two TFLs instead of a tackle and a half, but still almost identical stat lines, pretty much the exact same. They both had great presence in the D line, or just like in the trenches. Like it was just a really good trench game from Munich. And I mean, we talked about it. Like the Raiders O line just looked so overwhelmed. Like they just couldn't do anything.
It wasn't even a challenge
on the ground, like because the center fell over him. Like it was tough for them, but great job from both of them. I'm not going to give it to one for having over only a half sack or only a half TFL more than the other. You know, they're both.
Jordan would. Yeah, screw the other guy.
Yeah, screw Sadiq. But shout out Sadiq, you're going to get on this list, even though you had half TFL left. We know that you contributed just as much to win, and you guys should hold your head high. And then for Fiasco, we didn't find a great Fiasco winner this week. And in the spirit of positivity for today, we're not going to give a Fiasco award. We are going to give it to the U.S. men's soccer team because what the hell was that? You know,
that was bad. That was a bad showing.
Belgium's not good either. So it's
like the 9th ranked team in the world.
Yeah, but like we had expectations. Like the way we were being hyped, you know.
The round of 16 was the U.S. expectation. Anything past this was phenomenal. Like we made it to where we were expected
it's still a win, but it's the vibes that were
high.
The vibes leading up to the game were so high, and then we get our red card overturned, and all of a sudden everything's in the toilet, and it's an asterisk game. I will stand on it that in sports, like public perception actually does do a lot for how a team performs. Like a lot of athletes will say, "Oh, we block out all the noise. We don't care about any of that. None of that comes through." Belgium came to play, you know, like they were not happy that we got preferential treatment with getting a red card overturned.
And we're not the first country to do so either.
But just the way it went around, the whole it was disgusting. Like it was just a disgusting display. It would have been way better if we would have gotten 4-1 down a man, right? Everyone would have been like, well, you're down a guy, got 4-1 to Belgium. That's the way it goes. But we made Belgium look like the best team in the bracket, you know? Yeah. And that's not the way it was supposed to go. So embarrassing home performance. We're almost pretty much gifted a penalty kick too. Had to get our red card overturned because of pride.
I gotta take a call real quick, so keep talking.
Go for it.
You can talk about the games.
Yeah, I got you. So it sucks, but you know we're gonna give it to the U.S. men's soccer team. Technically, still football. So there you go, guys. We're gonna say that it's football for this week and this week only, and then we're gonna go back to calling it soccer. All right. So we do have 3 games next week. We have. I'm gonna wait for Danny to go over the Paris Prague game because we'll definitely have some thoughts there. That's going to be the most interesting game of the bracket or of the week. But and that's the first game. That's going to be the Saturday game or the early morning Saturday game. But the Sunday game is going to be Frankfurt, Munich. And although Frankfurt has been on a good trajectory and they've been turning it around, and they're on the up and up. Munich is 6-0, and Munich is as dominant as they ever been, and they're going to keep being as dominant as they ever were. As much as I'd like to see a Frankfurt upset, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's also at Munich, which is not ideal for Frankfurt. If Frankfurt could be riding this high going home and then getting Munich, maybe we'd have a little bit more of a discussion of getting an upset win here, but unfortunately, I don't think that's the way it's going to go down. I think Munich's going to win. I think Munich's going to win convincingly. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout, but I'm thinking a 14-17 point win for Munich. Probably like a 30-13 or something, maybe like a 40-20, something like that. Frankfurt's not going to look horrible, but they're going to look underclassed against Munich. Now, I do think Tyrol is going to look horrible against the Nordic Storm. I know that the Nordic Storm have shown some life. You know, they lost to Munich 37-34 in that amazing game. And, you know, they had that close game against Frankfurt that was 20-12. But they blew out Paris when they played them. I think they're probably going to be able to blow out Tyrol a little bit easier. So Tyrol maybe can get some waiver claims that might help them make it a little bit closer. But the talent gap between the Raiders Tyrol and the Nordic Storm, it's just too much. It's unfortunate. I mean, we've talked about the whole league getting split in half, leaving Tyrol in a bad situation. But Nordic is just so good. I mean, the Munich Nordic game came down to the final seconds because both those teams are that evenly matched. And when they play in the championship game, it's going to look very similar. And I know it's probably annoying to hear me say, well, it's already penciled in as a champion game of Munich Nordic. The writing's on the walls. We all know that's how it's going to be. Munich's going to get the advantage in the playoffs, just having one extra win over the Nordic Storm. But they're going to be able to. The Nordic Storm are not going to have an issue with the Raiders Tyrol at all. But if they sign some imports, maybe they can make it not a massive blowout. I still think it's going to be at least a 3-touchdown loss. Probably a little bit more. Maybe it's going to be like a 48-20 situation. Maybe like a 50-13 or something like that. It's not going to be particularly close, unfortunately. I would love to predict it to be a little bit closer. And if they get some big waiver claims, maybe it'll be 2-touchdown loss. They have a 3-touchdown loss or 4-touchdown loss, but it's going to be a tough game regardless. And I'll start talking about the Paris and Prague game until Danny gets back here. But Paris and Prague is going to be an interesting game, which is funny to say because he said 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, because that's when Prague got their huge win over Tyrol. But you go 3 weeks ago, back all the way to week 6, and you were saying Paris-Prague is going to be an interesting game. I don't think a lot of people would believe you. Even though it's the week Paris got blown out by Nordic was still dominant, right? And still are dominant. So a lot has changed. I mean, Paris has been on this downturn. They've been slipping. They haven't done a great job closing game or just like staying in games, getting blown out by Nordic and then getting blown out for the majority of the game against Frankfurt, having to like grip and fight till the very end. Prague, they can get something done here if they really want to. They're coming off a win. They didn't play last week, so they get to come into this week and ride it high. So we'll see what's going to happen, but my gut tells me Paris is going to win the game. I feel confident about it, but it definitely has upset potential.
I agree, and I'm back.
I already talked about Nordic and Tyrol as well as Frankfurt.
I heard a little bit. I'll give my brief rundown since Tanner gave his a little more in depth. But yeah, Paris-Prague has upset potential. I like the imports Prague brought in. Is it enough for a slipping Paris? I don't think at this point, but I think it should be close, which is sad for Paris because what are you doing? We had expectations. Nordic Tyrol. Tyrol, I'm sorry. You had to go against Munich and Storm back-to-back. At home, poor fans. Nordic by a lot. Coming off of a bye, too, after a loss, so Nordic is ready to roll, pun intended. Frankfurt, Munich. Munich is still going to win. Frankfurt, I think they're going to continue the upward trend. I don't think it's going to be – because what was the score their first time that they played? It's not going to be 45-26 this time. So I think it should be within a 10-point game for that one.
Cool. Yeah.
Sweet.
I mostly agree. I think Munich's going to win a little bit more against Frankfurt, even though Frankfurt's on the up and up. But, I just think Munich's that good. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, Frankfurt's DB room, I guess, against the Munich offense is kind of brutal. So maybe it'll be like a 14-point
But
game.
Last point for the Week 9 games. If Prague beats Paris, the playoff race does get interesting. Prague is only really going to have to get an extra win somewhere.
They play – both of them will most likely lose Week 10.
Yep.
Then Prague can beat Tyrol. We've seen it before. Paris plays Munich. Brutal. Going into Week 13, tied in record. Frankfurt versus Prague, Paris versus Tyrol.
So it's an interesting week if this goes go down that way, they'd both be tied, and then it comes down to the final week in week 13, who gets one more win. You look at it, Frankfurt would determine their fate. They would determine who they're going to go against. Do they want to play Paris more? Or do they want to play Prague more? If they want to play Prague more, they would have their backups in. If they want to play Paris more, they're going to try to win, So.
Well, it's going to be if they want to play Munich or Nordic week 1.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. But well, honestly, like week 13, we could hype up a hypothetical situation here, which one of them is not going to be hypothetical. Munich Nordic, battle for the 1 seed.
I know.
Already. And then Frankfurt Prague, that's battle for playoffs. And then same with Paris if this all falls into place. Can the Raiders be spoilers?
Yeah, week 13 could be awesome.
Yeah.
So let's hope.
Fingers crossed. But let's talk about something that could be really awesome.
Even more awesome than week 13.
Even more. Because we could have multiple week 13s in one season. I don't know where I was going with that.
All right, Danny, what's the dream scenario? What does it look like?
Ooh, brother, dream scenario. I'm gonna pull it up.
Awesome.
It says bring it on the screen. So whoever's on Spotify watching us because you love our faces, you can also see it. Boom, and you get to see a GIF from some random person the whole time. Shout out European Football Show. Go him. But we talked about it a couple weeks ago. It's actually been, I think, our highest listened to episode this season, which is wild because we talked about it on the back half of the episode. So that means they listened to the entire episode. So shout out those people. But here's the official FDF's Dream League scenario, aka the Dream. So the best parts between the EFA and the AFLE. I know you and Jordan had different opinions than I did on the amount of teams. I took it in my own liberty to add 16 teams instead of 12 teams. But we have 12 existing, so I kind of took a little bit of your guys's and mine. But so for the people that aren't watching or haven't seen the post, we have Munich, Frankfurt, Nordic, Vienna, Madrid is back, Paris Musketeers, we're throwing out the lights, bringing back the Surge because of their fan base following, Wroclaw, Rhine, Prague, Tyrol, and Alpine Rams as the existing teams. And then obviously we have the 2 confirmed expansion teams with Italy and London. And then we threw in 2 hypothetical ones of like the Belgium region.
That'd be Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg.
Yes, that region, bringing them a team, and then throwing a team up in Finland because, the Maple League.
Yeah, and we've spoken about it. You can give Finland, Norway if you wanted to as well. And then you got all the Scandinavian teams together in the league. They're all getting represented by somebody. They're not having just to have an import randomly. But it is I think the expansion teams would be great. Obviously, we know London and England are coming. Or sorry, London and England. Good Lord. We know that London and Italy are coming, and we've seen that happen in the AFLE already, not to the degree that people have appreciated and the fans of those countries wanted in the way. So hopefully, if those confirmed EFA expansion teams were to come together, they would have a little bit more steady ownership, have steady situations going on so that the, British fans and the Italian fans get more into this combined league that would be created. And for all the existing teams coming in, like I said, we would just axe the Paris, and since we already have a Paris team, we want to bring in 2, and we would axe the London and the Florence teams to bring in the other ones that might have a more stable ownership or just more stable relationship with the fans, less drama, less controversy with them.
So, we already know the Italy team is backed by the commissioner of the Italian league, the former, what was his name? Justin Pugh, former NFL New York Giants player. And then obviously the Britain team has been long rumored and kind of confirmed that David Gandler, the one that has Fubo behind his back, is the London team. And the one that owns I think it's Premier League team. I don't know European soccer. Yeah. But he has a stadium already, so that London team will not be worried about a stadium.
Yep.
But so someone in the comments said the CEFL teams are missing. Ten, I don't know if you're too familiar with the CEFL teams. It's basically like a Champions League in football. So like, it's kind of what the ELF did, but this is rotating every year where the best teams of X countries compete against each other. So like, we had a team from the UK play a team from Switzerland, and this team from Switzerland play a team in Poland, and kind of that kind of things. So the team Jamal played for, the Calanda Broncos, they were in the CFL last year. They qualified for that league. But this guy said he would add the Broncos. You could add the actual Firenze team. You could bring in the Black Panthers or another Poland team. Then he also said you could do a promotion and regulation game between the two finalists of the CEFL and the bottom two AFL teams or EFA teams, which I kind of would like that. That'd be kind of cool.
It would be cool. Again, it's based on how consistent the leagues would be, I guess, is the only concern. The only thing, I think relegation is always the most interesting way a sport can be, right? Where the worst teams get knocked out, the best teams get put up. And if you can have a relegation league, that's what you should strive for. I think that's something that we're just a little too far away with currently in Europe, right? Agreed. With the football teams that we have, we just need stability. If we can just have 12 to 16 teams stay in a league, not dissolve, be consistent for a few years, then I think we can start going crazy with, okay, maybe we expand the league, maybe we look into some sort of relegation, maybe we do all that. That would be great. The CEFL, they have their consistency already. They know how they operate. Let's not ruin them. Let's make sure.
I agree. I would not do it.
Let's make sure they're good. But I would love if this dream scenario works out, these teams all work for a couple of years, then I think it's a fascinating thing to go over. And again, I think reviving Madrid and Stuttgart wouldn't be that hard. Madrid never fell apart. They pretty much almost said like, hey, we're taking a break just to kind of see how things go. So I think getting them back in with a more consistent schedule and a more consistent league that doesn't have all this drama would make it a lot easier for them to say, hey, we're coming back.
Yeah.
And Stuttgart's a little bit of a tougher situation, but you need at least 4 German teams, I believe, for this. There's just so much German talent. And if you're gonna bring one of them back, like Stuttgart, we just got to find a way to get them back. They had passionate fans. They had a great stadium they could play in. They had a fantastic team. They went through because in their early years, they were one of the worst teams, right?
Dog water, yeah.
Horrible. And then they turn around, become champions. It's just such a good story. It would suck not to have the Surge come back. I know maybe geographically it doesn't make sense because you pretty much have 4. I mean, I guess Dusseldorf is more like Northwest Germans, but the other 3 are pretty much all in South Germany. You got nobody in East Germany, nobody in far North Germany. So that causes some issues geographically. But
because you could bring in
the most stable franchise,
No, yeah, but I mean, if we're thinking of it if we do run with just these 16 teams for X amount of years, don't change anything, you can have the other teams in the league as a whole help keep teams afloat. You could have a thing where it's if a team is struggling, redistribute the revenue share. Everyone wants everyone to succeed. Everyone still get paid, everything. So if that's the case, you could, in an off situation, keep Berlin.
Yeah.
Or in even a weirder situation, bring back the Leipzig Kings.
Or you bring back Cologne or Hamburg.
Yeah, but then you run in the same spot of having no one over here.
Yeah.
Because you'd
Well,
have Cologne. Or Hamburg you would.
Hamburg
Cologne
would be
and Rhine
better.
are right next to each
Cologne
other.
are like literally right next to each other. Yeah. But Hamburg would be in a different region. So
Yeah, I mean, if they get their stadium, they had a good stadium as well. It's like,
yeah, they did. And Hamburg was an OG. You know, they were.
bring back Hamburg.
Yeah, Hamburg would be great to come back. But again, we've talked about the teams, the like how we would have teams in different places so many times throughout the podcast.
Yeah.
We do think this would be the most. These are just the teams we have the most faith in cooperating, having good structure, being well run, and so we would want to see them.
Well run is the main thing,
Yeah.
and the biggest question mark with well run is a team we don't even really fully know is the Alpine team, and
But we know
Ryan has some money issues, but they've been around.
We at least know with Alpine that it's on paper looks better so far than what was going on with the mercenaries / guards.
Yeah, 100%. But I think having 12 countries is also huge.
Absolutely.
Because then it's Europe. It's not just like
it's not just Germany.
Yeah.
You know.
But so yeah, ownership. We'd obviously there's only one way to run a league in a sports, and it's let the teams own the league. That's easy. We see it in the NFL, we see it in the NBA, we see it everywhere. Like, just have the teams own the league. You can bring in investors at the beginning because, yeah, you need it. You need backing. But at some point, the teams are going to have to take over, and that's exactly how the EFA has it set up. They brought in investors, but they can buy out the investors when they can. So let's keep it that way.
Yeah, I mean, if you have one guy running the show, it just creates too much. We're American. We prefer democracy, so you would.
I don't know why you would leave the ELF to go.
Positive vibes.
Yeah, positive vibes. Positive vibes. Roster rules.
Just saying, preferably.
Yes.
We would like the ownership of the EFA, preferably.
Yes. Roster rules. This is always a topic of conversation. It'll be ever evolving. We've even had some people say a draft. Matt, call them out because you have to. Also call them out down here. But obviously, there's no perfect answer. So, Tanner, were your option 2 or what was yours?
Mine was option 2. So I've liked the idea, if we're not going to have a draft, that your placement should always matter in a league. I think based on where you place in a league and what happens after is some of the most exciting parts of it. It helps you get interested in the next season if you are a middling or a bad team, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Wizards had a horrible season. They got the first overall pick. It made it very exciting for them. And they got AJ Debonsa, who's supposed to be like a generational talent. Now, guaranteed, this NBA draft class was just generational. I mean, there's no other NBA draft class where somebody like Cam Boozer goes third overall. It's ridiculous. But the thing is they had something to look forward to. Same with the Grizzlies, who got Cam Boozer at third. They had something to look forward to in the offseason. They got to look forward to the lottery. They got these new players, and now they're really excited for their season next year. Like, there is talks that the Washington Wizards of all franchises are going to be able to like make it to the Eastern Conference Final because of the way their roster has been constructed, because they got AJ Debonsa, who's supposed to be that good. They have a chance to actually get to the playoffs and make it to the Eastern Conference Final. Now, they're probably not going to beat a team like the Knicks or Toronto with Kawhi or any of the other teams, but they could, or Giannis in Miami, but they could have a path to make it there. They could win a lot of regular season games, and they could beat a team like Cleveland, like Indiana. I'm sorry I'm getting into basketball, but the whole point is you're taking a team that is really bad, won very few games. In the next year, you have all this hope of, holy shit, like we can actually do something, right?
Yeah.
Now, a draft is the best way to go about that, in my opinion. But if we can't get to a draft, I think having import tiers is a really interesting way to go about it, and is a lot more. It logistically is a lot easier to handle than having a draft in Europe, because your tiers now is your best team is only going to get 5 E imports. Your playoff teams are going to get 6 E imports. The teams just outside the playoffs are going to get 7. Then the next 2 teams after that would get 8. And then your worst of the worst would get 10. And then you also, all of these.
So I think I changed if you go back to our episode, I think I changed yours a little bit, but kept the same kind of structure.
Yeah. So looking at, and all of this, we added the eye because we all have said so far, like the AFLE rule having the eye is one of the best things the AFLE's come up with. The eye rule is awesome. So now I think when we look at the e-import tiers and we look at what Matt Bresenton put, which is also very similar with these tiers, your Final Four only have 4, and no I-import. Your challengers, which I assume would be your playoff teams, would get 2 more E-imports and an I. Your teams that are right outside would then get an extra E-import and an A-import on the O-line, and then your bottom 4 teams, or your bottom whatever teams, would then get an extra I-import, an extra E-import, and an extra A-import on the O-line. Now, I do really like the idea of an A-import on the O-line for those bad teams. I think that would help a ton.
Now, see a huge difference in play from Henderson and Krajewski this year.
Absolutely. I think your preference between these 2 options, what it comes down to is how homegrown do you want your teams to be. Under the E-import tiers that we came up with, the bottom teams get a lot less homegrown talent. There are going to be a lot of E-imports on their team. In Matt's scenario, teams are still going to be majority homegrown. It's just the best teams, or the worst teams, are just going to have more E-imports, but they're still going to be a majority homegrown talent. Mm-hmm. Whereas if we had this situation, let's say Prague finished the season 1-10 or 1-11, the Prague team that would come into the next year having 10 E-imports wouldn't be a lot of Czech players on that team. So I think it comes down to what you would just prefer to see. Would you prefer to see more homegrowns? Would you prefer to see more just players on an even field on these rosters? Now, also part of that is it comes down to a philosophy of what do you think actually does help the teams be more competitive? Because I genuinely think like a team like Munich, with their current roster construction, with how many great like homegrown talent that they have in Germany, genuinely, like, you could get rid of Munich's E-imports and they would still be a lot better than a lot of teams. Now, you couldn't get rid of their A's. They would need their A's still. But if you got rid of all of their E's and they only had to play with German players, I still think Munich would be really solid and would blow out a lot of teams. So I don't think you need them to have a lot of E-imports for them to still be good, but I think that's what makes it interesting. Is like, okay, Munich wins the championship, they only get 5 E-imports. How does Prague do with 10?
Yeah.
Does that bridge the gap at all? And it's something that should just get implemented. And we're seeing the EFA implementing it a little bit already, which is great. They added the I-import for the bottom 2 teams. They added the waiver imports. I just think they need to next season go further into that. And in this dream scenario, if we could have both these leagues come together, I-import's awesome. And I do really love Matt's idea of an A-import on the O-line for the worst teams. Like, that would help a lot.
Agreed. So I like that you could take option 2 and then just add for the bottom 4 teams I-import or A-import for the O-line.
Yeah.
If you want to get fancy with everything. Next, kind of the branding of the league. Who we put in charging? Who we put in charge? And I pick the people that we have pissed off. That I've pissed off.
It's been a collective effort. All right, we've all stuck our hand in the cookie jar on making the social media team at the AFLE upset.
Yeah, but I think it's ironed out. Jordan sent her a message. She didn't respond, but it's fine. I assume she wouldn't have. Let's just water under the bridge. Shout out Maxi Svenja. Good job. Actually, good job. What you've done with the branding of the AFLE is phenomenal.
It looks great. It looks super professional. It's very clean. I think if you can if we were having the stream league, I think having the website, the social media presence that they do, I think that's the way to go about it. The EFA website's getting better as we go on, but it's still not nearly as nice as the AFLE one, and it's not particularly close. I will say it is nice that at least on the AFE website, now when you click box score, you get like an actual like scoring summary, and you get a whole like PDF that has every single stat on it and all of those things. That makes life a lot better.
That's nice.
For it. The only issue, I just don't like the formatting of it. Again, it's it's just a blank like stat sheet with just like numbers on it essentially, and it looks pretty ugly. And also like a lot of the ways it's formatted, like on passing they have CAI, so it's your completion, your attempts, and then interceptions in one category, and then to the right you have yards, then you have touchdowns, then you have your longest pass and your sack, which that part's all fine, but the interceptions with your completions, really weird spot to put it. And then also like defensive stats are below like punting stats, another weird decision.
Yeah.
You know, you can't like it's just kind of hard to read going through it. Like it's not like an ESPN box score. It's not as like clean in that way. It's not formatted the same way, but it's a great step in the right direction. And I think if we were also having a dream scenario, I think your website should just come with a full-blown box score, and we don't have to worry about stats being updated. That was a huge issue we had with the ELF, like massive issue we had, is the stats were never updated. We never know what was going on. And really, that's the case that we've had this year too, but we've just had, you know, EFPR kind of bail us out until now we finally have gotten like this stat sheet, but even still, like we still trust EFPR more, you know?
No. So one of my things with social media that I didn't throw on this post, I know it's harder, and I know the off season's a lot longer with this league, but you need to do something in the off season to continue building a base. It's like the ELF, they did a little bit where they'd post kind of sporadically, and I know there's not a lot of news, but that also goes into the teams. Stop hiding your signings. Just announce them. There's no reason to hide anything, aka one of the new teams from this year. Just announce your players. It'll be a lot easier. It'll give fans something to look forward to. Going back to the NBA thing,
I'm just gonna go to the NFL page on Reddit real quick and just see what we got there, because like that's the thing is like we're deep into NFL offseason. There's nothing going on for the NFL in July. Like you don't see anything like that. But like I'm getting updates about stuff. Like here we go. 3 hours ago, QB Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not close on a new deal. Like, cool. I got an update there. Seems like they're not going to be able to iron something out. That's something to at least keep me entertained. Like we can at least have things like that being posted in the offseason. And then maybe like you don't have to do like the hit pieces like the NFL does, because
and that goes back into letting the media members be media members. Yeah. Have the owners that listen or know us reach out and say, hey, looks like we're not going to be able to retain Clark, for example. That's completely hypothetical. It's like, hey, looks like we're not going to be able to retain Clark going after this quarterback. We say something on the podcast or tweet something out or post something. People get excited. They're like, ooh, who are they going after then? Or where's Clark going? Is he retiring? Is he going to this team? Is he going here? Is Tunga gone? Like, I don't know.
No, it brings up, like exactly. If it was just an Instagram post or a tweet of just like the Nordic Storm and Jadrian Clark are having discussions about, you know, signing a new QB and Clark not signing this year, everybody can then have that discussion. And that's something that fans actually talk about and actually get interested in and see what's going on. And it's not a bad thing to have that happen. That's the reality of sports, right? Like sometimes, like, you know, like these guys are all human beings, right? Like, you know, like Kyle Kitchens deciding to go play for the GFL instead of playing for one of these leagues, you know, there's no shame in that. That's just a decision he made because his wife is German and he wanted to live in Germany, right? Like he didn't want to risk going outside of Germany. So he's just going to play in the GFL. And that's not like a bad thing to say. That's just a personal decision he made. And that's something you can talk about in the offseason. Be like, oh, Kyle Kitchens isn't coming back. That's huge. What does that mean for this team now that he's not going to be back here?
Yeah. So That's where we're saying on that. Broadcast. I like the broadcast pack. You guys pick on me all the time. Scorebug and graphic package is my bread and butter. But I like what the broadcast package that they cooked up over at the AFLE. I am not a big fan. And sorry to where is it? Charlie, with the EFA, I like this broadcast package better. I'm not a big fan of the all green the EFA brought out. It's very. I understand where they're kind of going, but I'm not a big fan. It doesn't look full sport-ish to me. But I don't know if you have any other words on that, but we can skip to word.
I mean, I think it looks cleaner. Like it does look cleaner with the AFLE. Like I said, it's as long as I can tell what's happening on it. That was a thing that we talked about early on with the EFA. Is I didn't know what teams had timeouts and if they had timeouts. That's not good. I need to know that when I'm watching a football game. I need to see that visualized. So as long as all the stuff is visualized, I mean, it could be the ugliest abomination I could ever see. As long as I can see the score, how much timeouts there are, what down it is, how much time we got left, I'm good,
No, yeah.
Put it all in one area. If you're putting it in the corners all over the place, then that would be horrible.
Get the throwback one from like NFL Fox, like way up here.
Honestly, I kind of like that.
No, yeah, it's kind of nice. But where to watch? YouTube is a must from here on out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you put anything else behind a paywall. YouTube is a must. Keep the Red Bull TV sponsor that the Vienna Vikings have. That's just kind of cool. Keep Fubo with the Gandler connection. But you need commercials. I don't care if you film your own commercials. I don't care. You need sponsors for commercials for any timeout they have, because the shot of a static field during halftime and any TV timeout, I'm over.
Or, I mean, just have a sideline reporter at these games.
Or that. You're jumping ahead, man. Look, you ready?
I know. But I'm saying because it does suck. Just
you're jumping back. Yeah, there. Sideline reporter is there.
Yeah. So I mean, if we had a side, like if we can't get a sponsorship deal, if we can't do commercials, honestly, I'm not going to sit there and complain that we don't have commercials, But if we at least have somebody down on the field, if we have Tebbs walking around and he's sitting there and he can talk to a player who, like they're talking to the defensive guys, and he can go walk up to Tunga and be like, hey, you just had that touchdown run. Like, what did you see when you went? And yeah, like a lot of times it's nothing, right? A lot of times players don't want to have those conversations. But that was something that the what was that league called?
The UFL still does it.
UFL, yeah, the UFL.
All the spring leagues have adopted it, which is really cool.
And it always works well. And a lot of times what they say doesn't actually add anything of value, but it is cool to hear, like it's cool to hear that, and it's cool to see that. And, I bet in the moment it feels good for the athletes too. It's like, hey, what'd you see on that touchdown run? And it's like, oh, well, I just was able to find the hole in the pocket. And then you're like, well, you had a great job. And, it's like, it's just positive praise. Like, I work into human services. That's more important than anything. It's just positive praise. And, even if it's just the sideline, even if it's just Tebbs giving them positive praise on the sidelines, I'm sure the players would still like Tebbs, saying like, hey, you did a great job on that run. And it's like, oh, okay, thanks, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. But yeah, so there's that. Shows and media. There's a long list of shows that I threw on here and partners. But I think the more the merrier. We see there's 1,000 NFL shows. They all get views. They all cover basically the same thing, but in a slightly different way. So, and if you spread it out throughout the week, it's like you're not kind of overlapping as much as possible. But keep the EFA playbook that Matt and Tebbs are doing. I like the around the EFA that they kind of have. Just kind of, it's a little bit. In my mind, it's a little bit different than the EFA playbook. They're more like us, where they're just kind of casually talking about it and kind of seeing what they see. Bring Euro Runner in. Sorry to the existing one, but Matt had it first. I like the AFL live show where they have the counter, but I'd rechange it a little bit. I'd change it around a little bit to an around the horn style with rotating panel of the media members, but having Nick host it, because I think he'd be a blast or be great at that. And I think it'd just be funny for all of us to compete and be like, who's the best at the whatever league around the horn kind of style show? Who can get the most points? Someone said to have local language shows, basically. So have like First Down Meg have an Italian show for the new Italian team or something like that, or any German show for the 4 German teams. And bring in athletes forum with Jamal on his recap shows. Obviously, have our stuff. And then we can partner with the European Football Network. I forgot to bring in ELFpedia. All I do is give them hype, and I forgot them. And then obviously bring in our boy American TJ. But yeah, having a bunch of different shows, people love it. People just absorb information, so it's like they just love to hear people talk.
No, I couldn't agree more, right? The more media presence you got, the more people you can have doing shows for the leagues, not just doing them as, content, right? Not just us recording a podcast, like actually having like put together shows that you can use to market your league and get people into it. Because the thing is, it's like, yeah, maybe people will stumble across all of our different groups that, do content on Instagram randomly because they follow EFA or AFLE stuff. But if it's actually being posted by the EFA and AFLE leagues, then it makes it better for those leagues to actually get more presence and get more people like talking about the league and discussing things and the whole 9 yards. And let your media, be a little ruthless at times. The NBA and the NFL media, I mean, like, they have a whole reputation of just horrible takes and saying, crazy things, and it always brings clickets and it brings controversy and it's interesting, As much as like I don't like Skip Bayless or Stephen A. Smith or any of those guys, they serve a necessary portion of why sports are successful. Yeah. Because they're a nice talking piece that bring about controversy and get people to discuss things. Stephen A. Smith might not have the greatest takes, but you can't lie. When Stephen A. Smith says something and it gets circulated around, it's a talking point for an entire group, whether it's outlandish or not.
Yeah. So
let me be the Stephen A. Smith is essentially what I'm saying,
Exactly. And then my final thoughts. If you have not read this, go read it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a lot. But credit to the people we said before, Maxi Svenya, the rest of the AFLE crew, and to Matt and the rest of the EFA crew for even just after the whole shit show of the ELF, putting at least something on.
Yeah.
Not be perfect.
We could have no football right now, but we have 2 leagues, so True. It's great.
But there's that.
Yeah. That's on our 4th Down Fiasco Instagram page. So if you like the post, you like the ideas, make sure to go like it, go share it, post it on your everything that you can, get it more traction, more people that can see it, the more leagues higher ups that can see it. Hopefully we can get somewhere. I know the idea of a merger, the idea of this dream scenario, it seems like it's a million miles away. It's not going to happen. But eventually one of these leagues is going to beat the other. I mean, it's a competitive sport we cover. It's a competitive environment. Somebody's going to go down, and it's not going to be pretty, and it's not going to go well, and it's going to cause a lot of issues. So the sooner that things can be cooperative and come together, the more life it's going to breathe into European and American football. Because the worst case scenario that can happen is one of these leagues go under, the other league doesn't get a following, and European and American football is dead on this stage. And instead, it just goes back to being the GFL and the IFL and the Austrian Football League, right?
Single country leagues.
Yeah. And that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But I hope that we were positive today, and I hope that we didn't say anything controversial. I don't think we did. And I think we gave enough credit to everybody. And we want to just say we appreciate everything everybody is doing in these leagues. And we're not saying that we could do it better, just that, there's room for improvement.
And if you need help, let us know. We're here.
Yeah, we will do it.
Find us anywhere.
Yep.
On Instagram at 4 Down Fiasco, X at 410_pod, TikTok at 410 Fiasco, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast, just search 410 Fiasco. Give us 5 stars. Give us a follow. We're almost to 1,000 followers on Instagram. Let's get there before the end of the season. That'd be fun.
Be awesome. That'd be sweet.
Yes. But until next week, this has been 410 Fiasco on the Yin and Yang chill podcast.
Chill.
episode.
Zen.
Zen.
It's a Zen
podcast
day.
episode. So until next week, until Jordan brings back the hype, he's not gone. He's just not here today. But thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Let us know your thoughts. Until next week. Peace.
This is
Bye.